It's a little windy, but I hope you guys can hear. We are back. I'm doing a video on U-lock parties for my backyard. So recently, this person put this posting up on like a Buy Nothing group, a local Facebook Buy Nothing group for my neighborhood. And she said, free U-lock, doesn't lock, doesn't work, I don't want to deal with it. Can anyone fix it or save it before I just throw it in the recycling? So I said, yes, I can. So I want to talk about U-locks, especially the Kryptonite brand U-lock, which is the best one. Buy this one, it's worth the extra couple bucks. Or find it used. They're really the best. I like the name Kryptonite. It tells tweakers that they can't break into this lock and to leave it alone. And some other locks they can't break into either, but they don't know that. They look cheap and weird and colorful, and they'll try. And if they do that, they will dent, damage, and destroy your frame. I've seen that many times. If you buy Kryptonite's brand new, they have an insurance policy, so if someone cuts your lock and steals your bike, all you need is a receipt for your bike, the receipt for the lock. They want you to register the lock online, which you should do anyways because they have keys, and the keys are serial numbered, so if you ever lose them, they can just print you new ones and mail them to you for like $2. I think the first one's free, and then like $2 after that. But I've had 2 customers have their Kryptonite U-locks cut, and both of them had a check from Kryptonite for the full value of their bike within like a week. It was amazing. You need a police report. The lock registered, and the bike receipt. No questions asked. They are great because people barely ever cut these. There's 2 common problems with these. The keys are sticky and they don't open. One is it's all rusty and dry in there from rainwater and gunk. So I will often drop some drips of lube into my lock when I do a tune-up, or if it's feeling sticky at all, just drop some chain lube in there, and that usually frees it right up. This one feels great. She also only had 1 key in the picture, and so like with anything with bikes, I go, hey, do you have the extra key? She goes, I don't know. I'm like, well, if you look for it. She's like, oh, I can look for it. If people sell you something on Craigslist, you go to their house, be like, hey, do you have anything else for sale? Because they might have a bunch of other stuff and good deals. I just want to be rid of it. Sometimes people just give me all their extra stuff, or charge me like 1/10 of what it's worth, or sell me one other thing. But here, I'll give you like all this whole pile of stuff if you buy this one thing that has any value to me. So always ask. The other really common problem, which is this lock's problem, is if you can see this gap right here between the rubber sheet and the lock bracket, these things slide up and push these little rubber washers up into the locking area. So the lock's hitting that rubber and cannot lock. Let's test that theory. She put a little piece of tape on it with my name. It was so nice. Left it on her porch for me. I picked it up hours later. Ah! Get off my fingers, tape. Same thing, this piece looks a little in the way. I'm going to try and drop it on and lock it, and it will not turn. Got a handy dandy little multi-tool, some handy dandy little sizes. So the lock bracket is usually one of these smaller sizes, like that one. Loosen it up, slide it down, slide the rubber down, and the lock drops right on and locks. There's nothing wrong with this lock other than these little bits rolled up in the way. Boom, both keys work. Now just because you have a nice U-lock and it works and you have no problems doesn't mean they can't steal your bike without cutting it. Also, it's got 2 keys. Hide one. I had one with my spare keys in my room with my car titles and junk, you know, like hide it in case you lose the other key and go home and get your spare. So another thing I've been seeing a lot around Portland is the U-shaped bike rack staples that are like bolted to the ground. They'll come and take some of those bolts out. So let's walk your bike over and wiggle your bike in the lock and lift it up and wiggle the whole U up and ride off with your lock still attached to your bike. I've also seen them cut those staples in half and put a piece of tape or a sticker over it. So you lock up and everything seems fine. They come by and just peel the tape back and slide up to the cut and slide your lock off right away. So check staples. I wiggle them if they're loose. I don't touch them. If they got a big piece of tape on them, I'll grab them and wiggle them. It's not worth losing your bike. Some tweaker goes and cuts one of those locks and he can come back every day and steal a new bike. Now speaking of that, this is not, I'm not calling this video this. It's not how-to. So, you know, don't get all freaked out. But I am going to show you how to remove a U-lock. I have removed many U-locks. People broke their keys off. I used to own a shop right across the street from community college, and people break and lose their keys all the time. Charge $50 to cut their lock. So I'm going to show you how to remove a U-lock. Before I do that, I'm going to talk about cable locks. Everyone wants those cheap little cables. You can't have them. $6 Harbor Freight cable cutters can cut right through them. I've seen tweakers cut through them with a steak knife in a couple minutes. I have seen tweakers cut through them with a Bowie knife in less than 30 seconds. I've had a friend who had like an Otter lock, some really fancy brand of flat, kind of cable-y lock that everyone was pushing for a minute. They're supposed to be safe, and he parked his van and ran inside a gas station to pee and buy a soda. When he came out, it was gone. Like he said, less than a minute, probably like 30 seconds. He looked out the window, was watching it. Some tweaker came with a Bowie knife, cut through it, dropped the Bowie knife, and he ran away with his bike. Really avoid cable locks. I used to have an old cable lock at the shop, and people came in and insisted on getting mad at me and didn't stop them. I would pull out small $5 bolt cutters, I would pull out cable cutters, I would just start cutting chunks off and show them. It's just this easy. Any tweaker can steal that tool from any hardware store. It is not worth it. Now, U-locks are not totally impenetrable. They can be cut, but you need a real serious power tool. Really the only way to cut them, hacksaws will not do it, is skate on these hardened steel shackles. Hope this video isn't too windy. You can hear all the places I'm sitting. Really, this is the way to cut them. This is a 4.5-inch angle grinder. These are like 20, 25 bucks at Harbor Freight or anywhere. And I took the grinding wheel off and put on a 4.5-inch heavy-duty guaranteed cut-off wheel. This can cut steel, stainless steel. This takes 10 or 15 seconds to cut through a U-lock. I'm about to show you, because a little while ago I got this handy-dandy bike basket from the salvage sales because someone had locked their U-lock to it and lost it. This happens sometimes. People just lock stuff and lose their keys. People are terrible with keys. Be good with your stuff, or it costs you money. Luckily it was just the basket, so then, you know, they can take the basket off and keep riding their bike, but people have thrown away their whole bikes because of this. I've had friends have to call me over because the roommate moved out 5 years ago and abandoned their bike, you know, locked up in their backyard to their staple, and they were getting evicted or something. So I'm going to show you how to cut this lock. It is horrifically easy, but you have to have the real tools to do it. Most tweakers don't have them, so U-locks are still more or less pretty safe. So I'm just going to stick it on this chair as my handy-dandy workbench, totally safe. So I got my safety going on. I got some cheap Harbor Freight earmuffs, some cheap safety glasses for the sparks, some cheap gloves for sparks. I'm not doing anything about my arms or feet because I don't care. I've had a million sparks on me a million times from doing a lot of metal work. It's probably be fine. That was unedited, 10 or 15 seconds. Sometimes one side of these will come out, sometimes they won't, so that's why I cut it in the middle, so I can just sort of pull it off and be done with it. You cut up here, sometimes either ones come out, you can't really do much. Just cut it a second time. As you can see, it kind of bucks a little bit, depends on the angle. It's got like a friendly zone to cut down with and an unfriendly zone that kicks and bucks, so find the safest zone. They have little side handles and double things, and that's smart. If you haven't done this a million times, but I have, it's fine. And now this basket no one wanted because the dumb abandoned U-lock was on it. It took me all of 30 seconds and 2 minutes to get my cutting stuff out. It's now free and clear. So that is my video on everything you really need to know about U-locks. Bell brand, it's like a department store brand. Something millimeters, hardened steel. Didn't do that well, but honestly, a Kryptonite takes only double that time. It took 5 or 6, 10 seconds. Kryptonite takes 15 or 20. But this looks like cheap junk that someone's going to try and break into. And a Kryptonite, they're going to go, this bike's locked up too well. I'm going to the next bike. I'm going to go find the bike with a cable on it to cut. I'm going to get the worst lock. And that's really all you can hope for, is that they'll steal somebody else's less loved bike. You park in a busy bike rack in a busy place where tweakers might come and try and steal your stuff. But I hope you like the trick for solving these old Kryptonite problems and pretty much any lock that has one of these little frame brackets. And I hope you like the trick for cutting this U-lock. Pretty inexpensive, pretty quick and easy. Thanks for watching. I'm back. I just remembered there was one other thing I want to talk about. There's one other way that pro bike thief tweakers used to also steal locks, and that was using the little spare tire jacks out of your car. Those little V-shaped jacks you put under there as a little twisty thing and jack your car up to fix a flat on the side of the road. Some of those are tiny and can fit inside the U of the U-lock, and they jack them up until they pop it open and break the lock and break the shackle and it pops open. It's a little less common nowadays. But tweakers can find those. They steal cars too, and you can get them. They're small enough. That's why U-locks have gotten from huge to smaller and smaller and smaller at a time. I even have like a mini U, which is like the smallest one Kryptonite makes, which is horrifically expensive. I think it's over $100 now. I have that for my rando bike, so you can barely get your lock onto skinny staples. There are definitely some staples in town that are old and fat. They're too big for me to get my locks on. So this one I just got is a pretty big U. I did get a fun lock saver bracket for it that I should overlay a picture with if I go find it, hopefully, see if it fits. That way is dangerous. I think that way usually damages the frame. I think usually shoots over, makes the whole lock pop when it does it. It could bash the frame. I don't really see tweakers carrying those around a lot, but tweakers are known to steal power tools. Everybody I know who's a carpenter or, you know, does any sort of work like that has had their truck broken into, tools stolen. I talked to one guy who had his truck stolen 3 times, and the tweaker stole all his tools and sold them, and pulled all the copper wiring out from under the dash on the truck, just destroying his brand new work truck. So some of those guys I know now have like alarms in their yard, and the truck's backed up against their house. And one of my friends had his truck stolen with his bike on the back, and I recovered the bike. We did a video on that. I found it for sale cheap on Facebook Marketplace from somebody who, nice kid, probably telling the truth. He said he buys abandoned storage units. He lived in an apartment complex and owned 3 of the storage units there, the garages there, and just went and bought abandoned storage units and slowly sold all the stuff on Marketplace. And he didn't seem like a tweaker to me. He seemed like a young, you know, hustling hipster kid. So it's probably true, or, you know, maybe his friends and family and uncles or whatever steal all the things and he slowly sells it for them. That happens too. Don't buy stuff from people who look like tweakers. Don't, if you know that somebody's a tweaker and they're unsafe, don't buy stuff. It encourages them to steal more stuff, like your friend's stuff, like your stuff. Don't do it. You know, I go on Craigslist and buy from like college kids who are moving out of town, and people used to be bike commuters and got married and had families. Like, you can feel people out. Haven't run their bikes in a decade, that kind of stuff. And now mostly I just buy from the nonprofits, Goodwill and the nonprofit bike shop here, because they get so many donations. They have drowning bikes and they sell it too cheap. So I can go pick up bikes for nothing. Often in good shape, just needing some work. Okay, so that's my real video. Thanks for watching my little addendum.